Do you still think that climate change is a hoax?
Look, I think something's happening, something's changing, and it'll change back again. I don't think it's a hoax. I think there's probably a difference, but I don't know that it's man-made. I'm not denying climate change, but it could very well go back. You know, we're talking about over millions of years.
The president has said before he doesn't believe human beings are responsible for climate change, but millions will no doubt be cheered after learning that it's going to change back again. Our guests remain with us. Kimberly Atkins, Steve Kornacki. Steve, is he, based on where his base is and maybe independence, is he trying to have something both ways here?
It's interesting because this sort of illustrates, you know, when he starts giving interviews like this, starts making comments like this, he starts obviously stirring up all sorts of controversy, arousing all sorts of backlash from the Democratic side. But we showed those poll numbers earlier, that increase in his job approval rating over the last several weeks. And I think one of the things that might be driving that in part is by his standards, I stress, by his standards, he has been quieter over the last several weeks. There's been a lot of drama in American politics, but the White House and certainly Trump himself, I think, participating in this, he was a little bit more selective in how he sort of interceded in the Kavanaugh fight. He yielded to Mitch McConnell and to the Senate Republicans, I think, a lot more than we're used to seeing him do. Certainly, he made those comments at the rally. He's made some comments on Twitter. But folks on the Republican side remember the final, I'd say, 2 weeks of the 2016 campaign. They remember as, among other things, the most disciplined in terms of message that Donald Trump ever was as a candidate. And it was in those final 2 weeks that he made up that critical ground and just enough to win. And they're hoping that's something that maybe in the stretch drive of this campaign he'll replicate.
For just a couple seconds, I wanted to show you this polling list that got some traction over the weekend. Preferred Democratic 2020 candidates. And there are the numbers. There are the would-be candidates. My question to you is, same amount of time before the 2008 election, would Barack Obama, name recognition-wise, have cracked this list? Yeah,
actually, so in October 2006, it was the same poll. CNN took it. Hillary Clinton was in first place with 28%. Barack Obama was second with 17%. They put Al Gore's name in there. He didn't end up running. He was at 13%. So Obama, the strength of that convention speech in Boston in 2004 made him almost overnight this sort of dream alternative for a lot of Democrats. And that was one of the things that got him in the race because he had assumed his first year or two in the Senate 2008 would be too soon, but he started getting poll numbers like this right around this point. And he started having second thoughts and said maybe 2008 is the right time, and the rest is history.
Kim, I want to show you the exchange from 60 Minutes last night about Dr. Ford, and we'll talk about it on the other side.
You mimicked Professor Blasey Ford. You mimicked her.
Had I not made that speech, we would not have won. I was just saying she didn't seem to know anything.
But you seem to be saying that she lied.
You know what? I'm not going to get into it because we won. It doesn't.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.